here to kick it off here for game one. So both these players, of course, have made it very far. Stick around long enough in this Genesis weekend. I am excited to see what these players are going to provide. I've seen York at my locals, so I know there are NorCal and I believe Big Dan representing Slow, which is down in SenCal. It's going to be a great set nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing about getting to play on stream at Genesis, right, is that for the most part, like, people are going to be expecting there are going to be like 300 names that they've heard, right?
Yes.
But for the people that they haven't, if you're on Genesis, you're going to show up anywhere else at this point, and people are going to remember you. So I want to see what I can remember from watching this set. You mentioned that York and Olimar player, Big Dan coming with the Rob, so we are getting the Cannon Subspace Emissary battle.
I love it. And, of course, Big Dan, I mean, big character also as well. And right now,
Rob is big?
Rob is
Man,
huge.
I never even noticed. That's crazy.
He may be gargantuan, you know. It may be up to opinion here, but
sizable robot.
Sizable indeed. There you go. Right now, York is going in right here. Immediate damage. The Pikmin are going to be a huge factor in this matchup because, of course, all of them have different attributes, as many people have known over the years since even the days of Brawl. This character can pack a punch, and sometimes his little friends do pretty much a lot of the hard work for him. But of course, can't count out the little baby child that Rob spits out every now and then.
His own Pikmin, right? Pikmin, but a tornado. Yeah, that gyro obviously such a big tool. The Pikmin, it's kind of a double-edged sword on Olimar's end, because on one hand, the Pikmin can kind of stuff the gyro and stop him from getting hit, or, you know, you can just get hit and set up anyways because you lose your Pikmin, right? They'll stuff that gyro, but then they're going to die anyways. And then sometimes it doesn't even matter. You throw out that Pikmin, now you're an end lag, and Rob's just going to spin you off the side.
Very great pick up there from Big Dan, but of course a nice meaty forward smash coming out for York. Even up the stocks here, but you cannot play with Rob because he will play around with your life right here, especially with this gyro being ready at all times to set up a kill option.
Got to stay evasive if you can as Olimar in that situation because, I mean, yeah, you can get taken off the side with those combos so quickly. I'm interested to see if we're going to see York kind of focusing on maintaining these red Pikmin. That forward air is really, really nice from Big Dan. Good recognition. You're taking space, but you're also throwing out a hitbox that the red Pikmin is not immune to because if you try to use that downer or that neutral air, which, you know, that neutral air is especially, you're going to see it right there, right? Such a good tool for just getting those Pikmin off of you, dealing damage basically over your whole body. The red Pikmin are going to be immune to that fire damage, but it's the electric damage from that forward smash. Really nice find there by Big Dan, going up one stock once again.
Big call out there from Big Dan too, and now, you know, York got to play a little bit with a deficit here, but has to maybe play a little more patient around. Rob can definitely get a lot of free hits if you're not careful, as you can see right there. Even stalling the recovery here gets an immediate confirmed 23%, and already the juggles are beginning. But luckily for York, he is able to stand ground and keep his children all together as well.
Yeah, I love using the armor to get back down onto the ground and say basically, okay, I'm going to exit this disadvantaged state. The trade-off here is that I'm going to take some damage. Got 2 purple Pikmin as well. That can be really, really helpful against Rob. You can use that power, but didn't have one of them queued up. It was the white Pikmin, so he says, get that out of here. I just need the pure power, but is it going to be too little too late?
All right, down the middle of the stage here. Very scary right now. Big Dan playing a very good game here. York having to find a way in right now as he's just been hanging around with these 2 purple Pikmin. Very huge damage can be applied here if he gets the right hitbox. But right now, Big Dan not allowing a single thing at this very moment.
Okay, 2 Pikmin trying to take that space again. I mean, York just playing this really, really patiently, seeing if there'll be a commit from Big Dan, who is doing the opposite of that. He's just standing there and saying, hey, let me see you make a move. All right, you've been backing up, you've been throwing these Pikmin. What happens if you come towards me? The answer? Down throw into up tilts, but the armor through, no true combos, so York is hanging on.
Okay, good recovery there from York, but very scary here, 134%. Rob is going to keep on just sending you off to the side of the stage. The Pikmin are not even the biggest factor right now in his worries, but York now probably able to pack a punch here, landing a back air, not going to quite do it.
Loving the spacing from Big Dan in this disadvantage. One of those purple Pikmin finally down, and your get up off ledge by tossing that Pikmin. It didn't matter because here comes the arm rotor once again. Big Dan looking really clean in that game 1.
Clean 2 stock for Big Dan, and already here we are going into game 2. I see a lot of good things coming out from both of these players, and Big Dan, of course, you got to get those gyro connects if you really want to make Rob. Because it's in the name, the character's robbery, if you can even get anything going, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he lives up to the moniker. For the first time in Smash history, right? He's finally a character that does exactly that. But, you know, on the other hand, York has been playing this Olimar, you know, very straight up, very honest. I think to your point, you know, right? Like, it's a question of, okay, what is the player doing really well? What is it that they're missing out on? And on York's end, I think that he is doing a really good job of sort of recognizing what Big Dan is doing, how he's trying to open things up, but he's just responding a little bit too late, right? You have to be a little preemptive against Rob because he does not tend to have a lot of end lag on a lot of his moves, and that's what York is trying to do, trying to punish the end lag, and that can be a difficult prospect against Rob.
Yeah, very difficult right now. I like the FD counter pick here from York, understanding that maybe the platform play may be kind of detrimental right now in this matchup as he's kind of having to force Big Dan to actually have to squabble right down the center of the stage. Throws out another arm rotor. Unfortunately, couldn't get the mark.
Yeah, Big Dan didn't even want to go for it. Even though, I mean, like, with 2 Pikmin in hand, like, I think that going for the down air there might be worth the risk, but either way, just letting it go right back to on stage. You were bringing up the lack of platforms, right? Yeah. And kind of what York is seeing in that. And I think a big part of it is that we saw it on Hollow Bastion with that big platform in the center of the stage. Great recovery from York. What we saw was a lot of York trying to throw Pikmin and them getting stuffed by the platform and not being able to take space effectively with them. Now on Final Destination, you really have to respect that when that side B button gets pressed, if you're not playing evasive, if you're not being defensive in that moment, you're going to start taking some chip.
Yeah, now this first stock actually very patient for both these players, even though Big Dan's still holding a very slight lead here. Just a matter of maybe getting one confirmed down to maybe finally get some action going here between these stocks. But now at 115, York still holding down. Not quite being able to get around this Rob, but finally does get a rising move there.
Backing up into the corner from Big Dan, knowing that he's playing with that advantage. But if you back off a little bit too much, York can start to open you up, especially, again, 2 purple Pikmin and on FD can be dangerous. Yeah. Barely able to live. No, the laser's not enough to do it. So out go all of the Pikmin. You work so hard to get, and there is the down air Big Dan was trying to throw out earlier.
So much that Olimar can do to float, but unfortunately just can't get around that big down air that Rob does have. That even if it doesn't spike, the side of that stage can say otherwise.
I love that recovery there from Big Dan, being very, very wary of York. Having the yellow Pikmin, canceling it out with the Nair. Really, really smart stuff. Understanding the way that York is trying to play these ledge traps and being off the stage, Big Dan is all over him.
Big back air indeed, and already we're seeing a different side of the story here as now Big Dan on the verge of maybe taking this set. York having to stand his ground, does finally get a stock here. This is still very, very honest. You know, we can see Olimar definitely make this comeback happen, but it's going to have to be down to avoiding getting hit by these stray hits.
And keeping those Pikmin alive. I mean, using them to rack up that damage. We haven't seen any of the big combo starters like that from York. That is exactly what we've needed to see, is stuff like the purple Pikmin, the yellow Pikmin, being able to get something like an up smash or an up air to start up those big combos, because that's the only way you're going to get this comeback. You don't have a lot of robbery potential against Rob, and meanwhile, like you were saying, stray hits can lead to the end of the game if you're not careful.
Yeah, and I've seen Big Dan as well kind of go for some really risky, like, rotor arms off stage, but some of them will pay off eventually, especially with York at this certain percentage. Woo! You just got sniped by a purple Pikmin. You are sent off the stage early. All of a sudden, York is actually playing with fire, and he's looking to keep it going here with 39% off one interaction. We might be seeing a reversal.
This is extremely winnable for York now, calling out one of those recovery habits from Big Dan to throw out those projectiles at a low angle to give himself that option to get back to stage and get some chip in the meantime. But York right now, like you were mentioning, on this warpath could potentially send us to a game number 3.
And it's looking really good too for York. Just has to be very evasive about these big hits that Rob is being able to throw out. But if he's able to rack this damage, it's only a matter of time before a kill move from either side can be walloped. And right now, can York find this opening to force the set to a game 3?
York just needs to be really careful playing that ground game, because Rob has options to open things up for a kill confirm there, namely the grab. You do have to play very careful as Olimar in this situation. And I love that Big Dan is switching it up to just using this gyro to bully this entire stage. But here we go. You're going to get the Rob off stage. You're going to get that damage. Purple Pikmin queued up.
Oh, yeah, he's just trying to look for that downer with the purple Pikmin. It's still on deck. He does have blue Pikmin. Gets a grab. Up throw. It's going to do it, York. How are you doing it, man? 3-stock comeback. We get into game 3.
That was so excellently played. Maybe one of those situations where Big Dan was feeling like, okay, I've got the big lead. I don't need to step on the gas pedal. I don't need to be doing all that offensive stuff. I can kind of take it easy and, like you were saying, play for those stray hits. But in the end, that just gave York those opportunities to open him up. And like you were saying, get those big combo starters going. Get one nice snipe off stage.
everything just changes in a blink of an eye, and York is now looking very composed. He's got that momentum riding in. He had 3 unanswered stocks. He came back from almost the trenches. He wants to keep this going for himself, and this game 3 will determine whether or not he still got that dog in him.
I'm just still amazed that he got that snipe with that purple Pikmin.
That purple Pikmin snipe was beautiful.
Such a smart call out on knowing, okay, like he likes to go low because it's hard for Olimar to really contest him down there usually. Rob's going to throw out that laser. So, you know, Armada style, right? Swedish sniper just and able to take him out. So really, really good stuff from York there. Getting that comeback. We go Pokemon Stadium 2 for game number 3. Big Dan looking for a big stage to do this work on.
Yeah, and right now, you know, this is going to be a completely different game plan. Is Big Dan going to keep on going with the aggression? I do see kind of some hesitation here coming out from Big Dan, as now York looking very good, just throwing out these Pikmin, getting the damage that he needs to be able to take these stocks sooner.
I mean, chip all the way through. Yeah, Big Dan hasn't really had a meaningful opening so far in this game. Down tilt could have been it, but had a weird trade with the Pikmin that was out there, so wasn't able to extend it into anything huge. And now York is going to be able to fight back for center stage, and he does kind of need center stage in this matchup, because if Rob's able to sort of hide behind those platforms, like we were talking about on Hollow Bastion, you don't get all of the angles that you normally have available to throw those Pikmin out at.
Now these Pikmin are actually just boxing right now with Rob, giving him literally the hands left and right, trying to help out this little guy.
The tiny, tiny hands.
The tiny titans, indeed they are. Oh, yeah, a little down smash there.
That was literally the Subspace Emissary. That was just put out the arm, spin, down go the Pikmin. Really good to take out the purple Pikmin as well, because again, we've talked about how good those are at controlling space. And doing a great job of eliminating them that are, you know, coming onto him for the most part, not letting them rack up too much chip damage. Gonna go for a juggle right here. No kill confirms available, and did not try to overextend after that whistle too. I like that.
Yeah, good stuff. I mean, this is actually very patient neutral, especially in these first almost 2 minutes into this game. Both players unable to find that opening that they really find very purposeful to win a stock here, because now the patience is really going to have to be tested from both sides.
And that's kind of what you look at with a stage like Pokemon Stadium 2, right? In this matchup, this is going to be okay. These two characters have really, really good projectiles. They're able to play at a mid to long range game. And that's exactly what Big Dan has been looking for, looking to slow that game down, say, okay, I feel like maybe, you know, losing on FD, I just didn't have the space to breathe and get away from the Pikmin. Now you've got all the room in the world on PS2. But again, like you were mentioning, the fact that we're almost 2.5 minutes into this game number 3 and nobody's taken a stock yet, it really speaks testament to these people recognizing that stage pick. But there it is, York getting the first one on the board.
Nicely done from York. Of course, Big Dan can easily do the same right now, but honestly, striking first in this game is something that is very helpful, especially in such a stressful longevity of a game. Barely, almost 3 minutes down, and York is still holding down that first stock.
It really helps when you got those two purple Pikmin, using them to just kind of bully his way back on stage. Normally you see an Olimar hang on to one to give him a hitbox available to fight back on stage with, but now, where are the Pikmin? We're just hanging onto the ledge, and York's just like, look, I've only got the one, so I better choose my next move carefully.
And luckily able to make it back to center stage, still racking up a little bit of some insurance damage right now, 42. But you're going to get up throwed, and that's going to be finally Big Dan striking that stock down. But we are almost halfway through this game 3, and both players still holding on to 2 stocks. I wonder if this could maybe go down to the wire.
Honestly, I mean, the fact that York was just sitting there on the ledge, not doing anything, kind of speaks to the idea that maybe he thinks he can win in that timeout scenario, right? Olimar can really build up that damage, but thus far, York has kind of had some struggles taking those stocks, right, outside of a couple of really good plays. And Big Dan dropping potentially a really huge combo definitely wouldn't have KO'd the Olimar, but at least would have given him that percentage lead to really control the pace.
Right now, Big Dan just looking for a big opening with this Nair. Does get a back air, though. Has him off stage. A couple snipes here. Might actually be very helpful. He does get the rotor arms. And now, Big Dan striking very aggressively. Has the chance to put it away.
Shoes on the other foot now, right? Now York is the one that, I mean, just like we saw in that last game, has to make a comeback, but he doesn't have all the time in the world to just hunt for the perfect opportunity to do it. So you have to be able to open up this Rob now, do something to establish your offense. Those jabs are a great way to set up for a tech situation. Tried to read the jump with the up air, but didn't get it. So this Rob's still hanging on.
We will play the entirety of this timer out. He has no need to rush down on York right now. Big Dan playing with a very safe lead here. As a matter of fact, he doesn't have to really get anywhere close to these Pikmin. These Pikmin can get flinged all they want, but if they get a little too close to you, we're going to start taking some damage.
And York going for, again, a lot of these jump reads. This is not the blue Pikmin grab, I don't believe. So that is going to be Rob hanging on, again, 135%. And at this point, if you're Olimar, like, you can throw the lock, stock, and barrel at him, but it doesn't matter, right? Like, Rob has taken enough damage for you to get the KO. Oh, my God, Big Dan.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so scary. Honestly, looked like a good conversion, but there it is. York does get the stock here. So here we go with 2 minutes left to go, and the 2-minute warning. Can York bring it back? He does have purple Pikmin back.
Purple Pikmin and a white as well, which if he's able to toss onto Rob, can start racking up that chip damage really, really quickly. And that is your goal number one. That is your modus operandi, is to play around just building up those numbers on that Rob. But both purple Pikmin got at the hands of one gyro that bounces back and forth between them. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, and now York, sitting at 93%, has to be wary of taking only a little bit more chip until he's at kill percents.
The collateral damage is huge, but right now, Big Dan, as you see, only dancing around the platform. You're looking at the timer. The timer is your best friend right now. York has to do something about this Rob, who is unable, or not unable, but more so very able to not want to interact with you, because this game is all his if all he's got to do is dance around you for a couple more minutes.
I mean, this is definitely the game plan for Dan, right? You've got this really big percentage lead. You've noticed that York hasn't been able to really rack on those big damage percentage combos, so just go into the corner, start hurling and peppering him with all of your small projectiles, and use that great aerial game that Rob has to be out of Olimar's threat zone. Big Dan is playing this beautifully right now.
Oh, the gyro unable to help York get a dash grab. Gets nared, he's off the top of the stage, and that's gonna do it. Unfortunate ending, but great games all around. Big Dan moving on 2-1.
That's the danger of playing for timeout a little bit too early, right? Is that if you're not able to establish that lead, you might end up with a result like that, where your opponent now suddenly has the ability to take what you thought was your winning game plan. Now it's my winning game plan.
Exactly.
And I'm going to turn that into my, hey, now you've got to come to me. You're going to put yourself in more disadvantageous situations. And in that case, right, we saw Big Dan just really play that beautifully. Obviously, you know, York put up a really good fight. That game, too, was amazing for him.
Game 2 was poetic. The comeback was, honestly, it just felt like everything was in the right hands, but then when Big Dan just kind of buckled in and really just gave him the real works of a long, true, patient gameplay, Big Dan came out victorious with just